Welcome to Mercy's Designs. My name is Mercy and I demonstrate Stampin' Up products. Today I'm going to show you what I call this essential mask kit. And I think this is adorable for 2020. And I'm giving this as Christmas presents. I gave it to my son's teachers and everyone has loved it. And I thought I would make a tutorial about it. So the primary item or the die set that I used here would be these celebration dies. Celebration Tidings is the set, and they're called celebration labels, and they're right here. So I used the second and the third one. So these. So I will talk a little bit more about that, but there are quite a few things that went into this, but don't get too intimidated. I do have all the dimensions, etc. So on this piece of paper, I wrote it all out. And of course, in there I took pictures. So if you want that Google Doc in a PDF, just email me and I'd be happy to share it with you. My email address is mewants3@gmail.com, and I'll have more in the description as well. So I did make, so on the back of it, I also decorated it, and I thought this was pretty clever. This was, some of you might recognize this. This was from Best Dress Suite in the spring, and this is from Dove of Hope, and it's an ornament which I made to look like one of those old-fashioned squeeze things for perfume, and I thought it was really cute together. Anyhow, so I will show you a little bit about the dimensions. So here is the box, and it's a very, very simple box. Do not get intimidated at all about that box. Super simple. And here I figured out ways to maximize my paper so that I'm not wasting too much. So to demonstrate that, I do have a couple sheets of paper, and I will show that. So when you're cutting this out, you want to cut it the long way. So here, I'll just show it like this actually. So that this is 4 inches I cut here. I'm going to just show this real quick. 4 inches by, 3 5/8, which would cut these into exactly 3 sections, as you can see. And what you do is you put it here. If you cut, put that there, you can cut around it and you can maximize it. And then at the end, you'll trim it to 3 1/4. What I like to do is match the 2 pieces rough side in and cut it just so it's the correct length. Anyhow, that's that part. Now the next part I want to talk about is the box. So I will bring that back in, and I will demonstrate how to make the box. So you will need a piece of paper. Oh, I think I got the wrong one. Okay, so this piece of paper here is going to measure here 4 1/8 by 5 1/2. All right, so I'm back here, and you can see I went ahead and cut this, and you could get 4 of these boxes out of 1 piece of cardstock. I really like maximizing, so just imagine you could get 4 out of it with very little waste. And we all love no waste, right? Okay, so I will bring in my cutter, or my paper trimmer, which also can do some scoring for us. So the first one I like to score. It really doesn't matter. I flip them. I do 7/8 and 7/8. It's been a little bit while since I've made this, so I gotta get my bearings, sorry. So, and I got really good at it. I made a bunch of them like a month and a half ago. That's when I should have made this tutorial. Well, it was really fresh. Okay, so I did 7/8, and I just like to flip it just to make sure that it's just easier to score hanging over here when you have the majority. Okay, so the next measurement we're going to do is 1 5/8 inch. So I'm just going to line it up here. And yeah, there we go. And score. And then I'm going to move it to 2.5. So I'm moving this down so it's at 2.5. And then I score again. So what you end up with is this. And now you just simply need to cut it. And that is really a very easy step, which I will demonstrate right now. And I like to have it on my template here so I know where I'm doing cuts, and I like doing it color coded. So I'm cutting here on the green and I'm wedging it. So here, and then I'm wedge cutting this. So that will make our box less wonky and line up easier. See how that works? Very simple. This is a very simple open box, I would call it. So again, for these tab parts, you do want it wedge cut. And this one I'm just doing on the score line. So the next thing that also helps to make your box less wonky would be your bone folder. So I'm bringing in my bone folder and I'm going to just quickly score these. So again, I'm not going to show everything about how to make this, but I'm not going to show coloring because it would just make it too long. As it is, this is going to be a little longer than I like. All right, so here is our basic box. Now, if you do not like the tab in here potentially catching, I would suggest you sandwich it. So I will back up just a hair here because I realize this could look a little weird because I had to do it the lengthways. So I'm putting this like here, and then I'm putting a little glue here. And okay, yeah, sorry here. I got this a little bit off. Okay, yeah, there. Yeah, that works. Yeah, actually, I did that just right. It just looked a little confusing for a second there. So you'll want to, and then it's just like straight down. There's nothing to catch. I feel like that sometimes it could catch, and we don't want it to catch. The only other thing I would suggest is to have it line up the same way. So your two rough ends on this end. So you have a back versus the front. Now, the other issue that is sometimes easy to forget about, I'm going to now bring in my side panels, is I want to glue on this side. Don't do that. You want to glue on the box itself, because some of this is going to be exposed inside, and obviously you don't want a sticky mess. But I am going to go ahead and decorate these first. It will be easier in the long run, but I do need to remember not to make that mistake, which I did. So here is the first part of our mask. He looks like a monster to me. And this is just a layer of that third smallest one in Pear Pizzazz. This is real wet red, which you probably guessed if you're a Stampin' Up follower. Okay, so we just want it like that. And then I wanted to show you something. So this is a straight vellum piece, and it's kind of boring in my opinion. It's not bad, it's pretty, but when you run it through the embossing folder, this is called Winter Snow, it makes it so much more interesting. So when you run it through, this is what you get. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love it. And I secured it already with dimensionals, so you don't have to watch that part. But not dimensionals, I'm sorry, glue dots. Dimensionals are going to be used as well. But this particular one I use glue dots because it shows through less than glue. So now that we have that on, I'm going to go ahead and just pop up our perfume bottle. So what they look like uncolored would be this and this. And the blends that I use to color it would be the Old Olive, Real Red. Oh, here's my Real Red, dark Real Red, and I used Smoky Slate. So that's what went into it. I don't think you really need to watch that, but that is for your information if you want to recreate this, which hopefully you will give it a try, at least aspects of it, because I think it's just adorable. And I gave it to, I get allergy shots, so I gave it to the nurse that gives me shots, and she really liked it. She thought that was fun, because the nurses and doctors that are dealing with COVID really have a very enormous task. Definitely, they deserve a lot of credit. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say. I'm not trying to be political, just stating the fact they have it rough. So just center this, nothing too special there. And how I secured this together was I put a dot of glue at the top, and then I put a little bit of glue right here. So I put like that, okay? Just so you can know what I did there. All right, so we're gonna keep building our mask part, which is kind of more or less a little bit more involved than some of it, but it's not bad. For the nose, I use this punch part of it, and that is the classic label punch. For the eyeballs, which are right here, I use this little retired 1/2" punch, and the black dot's just a standard 1/4" circle punch. And then for, let's see, what else? Oh, the mask. Yeah, almost forgot the most important part. Okay, so the mask, I don't have it here, but it is the storybook label punch, I believe it's called. And I just punched it out like this. Sorry, I don't have that here. I thought I brought everything over, but apparently I didn't. So to have this looking more like, not dimensional, but to have it matted, that's the word. You just cut a solid Real Red punch label, add a little glue, bring it up, and then you just line it up. And that will look, it'll help the mask look more like a mask, because masks, it's cuter too. It's just cuter. You don't have to have a really good reason other than cuter. That's plenty of a reason for us crafters. Okay, so here we go. Right there. Just have them match. That's the main thing. And then I like to gently bend it. And here we're going to add 2 full-size dimensionals in the center. And this will help us have it look more like a nose. So I'm just going to stack them, and I'm going to leave that on for now. I'm actually now in the habit of just whipping it off as I put them on, so I had to catch myself. All right, so we're bringing in the monster guy, but before we do that, we do need to put on the little straps, ear straps. So what I like to do is use my glue dots, of course, because we use glue dots for everything that needs ribbon, pretty much, just to stay put. I use glue dots all the time. I use liquid glue too all the time. You kind of have to have them both. Certain jobs require certain products, right? Okay, so here we just have them all lined up, and then we're going to bring in our ribbon. And this was in the holiday catalog. Sadly, it's not carrying over. And we just want 2 straps that are close in size. So I'm just guessing here. And then I'm going to cut this in half. If I can do that. There. Whew. Okay, so then you just put it in like so and twirl it back on itself. That looks like that'll work pretty well. And then you don't want them too big because you don't want them sticking out, but those look pretty good. Okay, so the next thing I like to do is work on the placement of the nose. So I made this probably a little big. You definitely don't want it sticking under the mask, I mean out of the mask. You just, because that's the mouth, right? Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. And I'm just actually using this die, that notch, as my guide, more or less. And then trying to make it straight. Okay, so we can go ahead, put it on, or we can add the little eyeballs. So you can make this so he's rolling his eyes. And I call him a him. I don't know why, but I guess he's ugly. Green. Kind of looks like a monster to me. Or you could have him so he has cross-eyed. So, like he's going cross-eyed from wearing a mask. Get it? It's a little corny. But, you know, we need a good laugh. So I think this is actually not in bad taste. So here we're going to just try to make it look like they're matching eyes. I'm not an artist, but that's pretty good. And then one other thing I forgot here is if you want to really make sure that they're secure, those things, and you want to be able to glue, you can add a little popped up, this is just a, probably, I think it's a 3/4 inch punch. I punched out real red here. So it just kind of makes it a little easier to make sure that you're getting contact with the base here, but not, you know, obviously not necessary. And you wouldn't have to use the real red. You could use just some scraps, whatever color you had laying around. So now we have the glue on those little things, and we are almost through with this little part. So you just obviously want to center it. And there he is, our little masked dude. Okay, so remember we have this box, and the most important thing is to glue on this side. Do not glue on your front panel or back panel, always on the box. And so for some reason I cut out and I have no idea why. All right, but I noticed, fortunately. So we're gonna go ahead and secure this to our box, and do not glue on here. Remember, glue on your box, because that you do not want glue above it. So what I do is I just set it here and I eyeball it, and this will come out pretty much perfectly. It's amazing how close this is. I saw something similar on Pinterest and I recreated it somewhat, but I didn't have any measurements. I just based it off of maximizing my paper and fitting what I needed to fit, which is the little bag with the essentials for mask wearing. Okay, so here is our front, and you just, again, want to make sure that it's not going too far. You can use your fingers too, just to line it up. I think that looks really good. So the next part is to get your little cellophane bags. So sorry about that. That was one of my stamps. I have these gusseted bags, the Mosaic, and these are retiring. I'm not sure if they're still available, but they work fabulously. I just find that they are just the perfect size. So you also need some ribbon, and this is also retiring. Sadly, I thought for sure it might carry over. It's beautiful though. I'll definitely continue using it for holidays, I think, as long as it holds out for me. All right, so what we need is to fill the bag. And I don't know what your area will have, but I got these fashion masks for 50 cents a piece at our discount store. And the idea here isn't to like provide a mask that they'll use every day. Maybe a backup mask. A 50-cent mask is not a real cheap, not a super well made mask. I hate to say it like that, but it just isn't. It's definitely not hospital grade. Okay, so then we also have this little hand sanitizer and the spritzer in this. So this is, I'll just set this here so you can see that. I printed that off and then I stamped that top part with this stamp. And this stamp is from A Merry Hello. I just wanted to mention that. It has a 2020 stamp, which was the primary reason I got it. I just was like, wow, I have to have that. Okay, so what I have in the spritzer is this, it's called Witch Hazel, and I added a little bit of the spearmint essential oil. So it just refreshes your mask. You just spritz it before putting it on. So here we have our bag, and I kind of just put the mask between it. And then put this here. So if you want to have this attached, this would be the time to go ahead, punch it. And this paper, this cardstock here is the Mossy Meadow. All right, so what I do is I just go ahead, do it at this point. I could measure it, which wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'm just going to keep it on. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of estimate how much I need to make a good bow. So what you could do is do it a double, like front and back, just so it's really secure if you have extra ribbon, which I do. And this ribbon makes decent bows, but they're not like super elegant bows, but that's okay. And you can trim it up. And then, of course, you stick it in your box, and I kind of liked having it kind of tucked in a little, but still visible. So there is the Essential Mask Box. If you have any questions, please email me at mewants3@gmail.com. Look in the description for products that I used. This I think is just really cute for 2020 as a little gift. So here's our original. And I hope you've enjoyed this. Please, if you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, and happy stamping.